Ranger Elias knew the rhythm of a savannah storm. He knew the thunder and the lashing rain, but the sound that cut through the noise was one he had never heard before. A raw, trembling plea. He turned, his hand instinctively going to his belt. A lioness stood 5 paces away. She wasn't stalking, she wasn't crouching to pounce. She was standing tall, shivering, her golden coat plastered to her ribs, and right between her paws, barely visible in the mud, lay a cub that wasn't moving. Elias froze. A desperate mother is the most dangerous animal in Africa. Yet, she didn't growl. She simply looked at him, then lowered her head toward the tiny, limp bundle, as if guiding his eyes. In that second, the realization hit him hard. She hadn't just bumped into him, she had hunted him down for help. He stepped forward, palms open. The lioness held her ground, a sentinel guarding a treasure she could no longer save alone. Kneeling in the mud, Elias saw the problem instantly. 2 puncture marks on the cub's hind leg. The tissue was swollen and dark. A puff adder bite, likely seeking warmth during the storm. "I can help," he whispered, though he knew she couldn't understand the words, only the tone. He lifted the cold cub. The lioness watched his every move. Her muscles coiled tight, but she didn't strike. "We need the jeep," Elias muttered. "It's across the wadi." He pointed toward the line of acacia trees where he had parked his patrol vehicle before the storm broke. But as they crested the ridge, a new crisis emerged. The dry riverbed separating them from the jeep was gone. In its place, a flash flood roared, brown water churning with uprooted shrubs and debris. Elias hesitated. The current was rising fast. If they didn't cross now, they would be trapped on this side without medical supplies. The lioness seemed to understand the math. She didn't wait. She stepped into the torrent first. The water hit her shoulder, nearly knocking her over, but she dug her claws into the riverbed, anchoring herself. She looked back at Elias, waiting. She was offering herself as a shield. Elias stepped in downstream of her. Her massive body broke the force of the current, creating a pocket of calmer water for him to wade through. They moved in tandem, human and predator, fighting the flood together. Halfway across, a heavy log slammed into the lioness. She roared in pain, stumbling, but she refused to let the current sweep her into Elias. She drove her legs down, straining against the water, holding the line until he scrambled up the muddy bank on the other side. Inside the jeep, the silence was a relief. Elias worked with practiced speed. He peeled back the cub's lip. The gums were pale gray. Bad sign. Shock was setting in. The lioness stood just outside the open door, rain dripping from her whiskers. She didn't try to enter. She respected the boundary, but her eyes never left his hands. Elias struggled to find a vein in the dehydrated limb. "Come on, little one," he hissed. Finally, the needle slid in. Antivenom, fluids, warmth. He wrapped the cub in a thermal blanket and rubbed its chest, willing the heart to strengthen. Minutes dragged like hours. The lioness let out a low, vibrating whine. Then the third crisis struck, not from the storm, but from the shadows. Deep, guttural roars echoed from the tall grass. Male lions. The storm had washed away territorial scent markers, and a coalition of intruders had wandered in. To them, a cub from another bloodline was not a life to save, it was a threat to eliminate. The lioness stiffened. She turned away from the jeep, facing the dark grassland. She was exhausted, injured from the river, and outnumbered 3-1. But she didn't retreat. She bared her teeth, a low growl building in her chest like an engine. She was preparing to die to buy them time. 3 large males emerged from the rain, their manes heavy and dark. They circled, sensing her weakness. The lioness lunged at the first one, slashing his nose, but the other 2 flanked her. She was losing. Elias looked at the cub. Its breathing had steadied. It was going to live, but its mother wouldn't. Not today. Elias gritted his teeth. He didn't grab a rifle. He grabbed the gear shift. Elias slammed the jeep into drive and floored the accelerator. The engine roared, louder than any beast. The headlights cut through the rain, blinding the approaching males. Elias drove the heavy vehicle straight between the lioness and her attackers, blaring the horn. The steel wall of the jeep broke their formation. Confused by the lights and the aggressive machine, the males snarled but backed away. In the wild, you don't fight something that doesn't bleed. They turned and melted back into the night. Silence returned to the savannah. Elias killed the engine but left the lights on. He picked up the cub, now warm and squirming, and placed it gently on the grass. The lioness rushed over. She checked the cub frantically, licking the rain from its face. The cub let out a small, strong mew. Then she turned to Elias. She walked close, so close he could smell the rain and musk on her fur. She didn't act like a dog. She didn't lower her head. Instead, she leaned her heavy shoulder against his leg for a brief, solid second. A transfer of weight and trust. She looked up, locked eyes with him, and gave us slow, heavy blinkies in the language of cats. That blink meant everything. I see you. I trust you. We are peace. She turned, gathered her cub gently in her jaws, and walked into the darkness. Elias stood in the rain, his hand resting on his leg where she had leaned, watching them disappear. He realized that tonight the line between man and beast hadn't just been crossed, it had been erased. Nature is often cruel, but tonight it chose to be kind. If this story of trust moved you, hit like and subscribe to help us tell the next one. Remembers, compassion is a language every species speaks.